Good evening, everybody. My name is Emmy, a student of Raja Yoga meditation with the Brahma Kumaris for 31 years now. We are your hosts tonight. Om Shanti. This means I am a peaceful soul. It is how we greet one another in Brahma Kumaris communities and gatherings. Brahma Kumaris is a United Nations Peace Messenger awardee. In the Philippines, this spiritual university has done much service in over 3 decades. We are a non-sectarian, non-profit, and non-stock organization, and we welcome everyone. Through meditation courses, we advocate spiritual awareness, attitude, and behavior by helping people rediscover their innate goodness. Our main campus and headquarters are located in Mount Abu, Rajasthan, India. But the courses and programs such as this one tonight are offered in 8,000 centers across 130 countries, including 10 in the Philippines. We have a general consultative status with the UN Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC, and the UN International Children's Emergency Fund, or UNICEF. Brahma Kumaris is also affiliated to the UN Department of Information. We bring you tonight's program by way of celebrating World Environment Day. This conversation that's happening tonight is registered with Generation Restoration, a series of relevant events being held in several countries and recorded for posterity. We will listen to a song by one of our students, recording artist Tina Ileto Diaz, an original composition written specially for us who are here tonight and for others around the world who might catch up with the discussions via subsequent viewings. Here is Tina's song, which is also an ode, a plea, a prayer. God save the rainbow.
Look around you, don't pretend that the world isn't coming to one end. People killing and fighting than ever before, starving and dying increasingly more. What of our children? Will they live to see the unspoiled beauty of flowers and trees, mountains and rivers, valleys and fields? Or will they suffer man's destiny? Save the rainbow, let the sunshine never end. If we could turn this world around and start all over again, all men should come together to achieve a common goal. Love, peace, and harmony. that the world isn't coming to an end. People killing and fighting than ever before, starving and dying increasingly more. What of our children will they live to see? The unspoiled beauty of flowers and trees, mountains and rivers, valleys and fields, or will they suffer man's destiny?
Thank you, Tina. That's Tina Diaz. Yes, indeed. Our dream is to turn life in this world around. We can fix this, says Johan Rockström, a respected Swedish environmental scientist and activist. There is a way out, he says. The window is still open for humanity to have a future on this planet. Well, to state the obvious, all is not well. COVID-19 has merely been a harsh reminder. The World Health Organization warned way ahead that something of this magnitude was bound to happen. WHO's Dr. Maria Neira says it was just a matter of time. We were destroying nature, she points out. We were systematically collapsing our ecosystems by agricultural practices and deforestation that are very aggressive. Add to this the fact that as of the year 2020, 56.2% of the global population was living in very crowded cities with high levels of pollution, the perfect ground for the spread of any new virus. Long story short, healthy nature does not cause pandemics. COVID-19 also illustrated that when something goes very wrong elsewhere on the planet, I, the individual, am affected, sometimes irreversibly. Does it work that same with words? If I, the individual, did this thing within my capacity, alleviate worldwide distress, situation be. The voices of Mr. Rockström, Dr. Neira, and British scientists are heard in a new documentary. Some of them hopeful, others not so. Irish marine biologist Gary Hughes, for one, able to hold back on describing the effect of climate change on our oceans. Critics of the documentary say that its let's do this disposition is way too optimistic. Tonight we listen to an eco-yogi, a term cleverly coined from the words ecology and yoga. You are sure to arrive at your own definition by the end of this program and may even want to be an eco-yogi yourself. Sonja Ohlsson is the proud daughter of a Swedish farmer. She grew up in the Swedish countryside, connected to the earth, in a word, grounded. You may have heard of the affliction called nature deficit disorder. Well, Sonja is not likely to suffer from that. A Raja Yoga meditation teacher and student since 1988, she has been national director of the BK Center in Copenhagen since 1995. In 2009, she helped develop the BK Environment Initiative in Denmark to help raise awareness within the international BK community and also to add the inner dimension to discussions in climate change conferences spearheaded by the UN. Some of those she attended were held in Copenhagen, Cancun, Durban, Qatar, and Warsaw. Sonja has brought her lecture series titled Living in Harmony and her Healthy Mind, Healthy Planet campaign around the world. Lisbon, New York, Vietnam, Greece, Brazil, and tonight she is with us. That is her mission, according to this former community nurse. She says, and I quote, "There is definitely a connection between meditation and nature. Instead of feeling insecure, useless, hopeless, helpless, desperate, people can increase their capacities for love, responsibility, compassion, and good vibrations, and thus elevate the atmosphere wherever they are," unquote. Sonja will take questions after her talk, so be sure you have located the chat boxes wherever you are joining us from. So, friends, brothers, and sisters, we now give the virtual floor to our eco-yogi, our green angel, Sonja Ohlsson. Welcome, Sonja.
Thank you very much. What a lovely introduction, Emmy. I don't think anyone has mentioned my father in the introduction. So wherever he is now, he will be also proud and happy.
Oh, that's good.
And this is such a lovely way to visit the Philippines. So greetings to all of you on this actually Mother's Day. So we can also celebrate Mother Earth Day today and the World Environment Day. And yes, I will go through 10 spiritual responses with you. And I can only encourage you to think about which one of these 10 spiritual responses am I good at, and which one of the 10 do I need to practice more. So maybe as I go through this, you listeners, you can take a note on which one is my speciality and which one I need to practice more. And I will share the screen with you and start my presentation. So here we have the 10 spiritual responses to the climate crisis. And yes, our main topic today is that the mind and planet are forever connected. So as you mentioned in the introduction, the pandemic became global, and is it possible that also our positive actions become global in the same way? And you mentioned Johan Rockström, and I'm very happy to hear that, because here you see a picture of him. He's in the far end to your left or right. Oh. And this is from a press conference. Now it's 4 years ago, 2017. And I remember this press conference very clearly because they mentioned what will happen in the future. And after their presentation, it became dead silence in the audience, or maybe 150 journalists from all over the world. And it wasn't a sweet silence, it was a scary silence. And this is the list I went through. And it's actually happening today, 5 years later. So you are absolutely right, Emmy. The window of opportunity is there, but it's closing. Yeah. So profound implications, abrupt changes, extreme weather events, sea level rise, human health at risk, large-scale migration and civil unrest, huge economic impact, and disruption in food production, in any production. So what is the core reason for all of this happening? And I asked another scientist, now actually Johan Rockström, he's now co-director in Potsdam Climate Research Institute in Germany. And I asked another professor there in the same institute, what do you think is the core problem to our situation today? And he said, we are missing a relationship to nature. So yes, wherever you are, you come out into nature. Even if it's only your balcony, you have some maybe flowers on your balcony. And there is a very nice old saying in the Native American tradition that if there were no animals on the planet, then human beings would feel very lonely. And you mentioned my father and me, and he had bad hearing towards the end of his life. He couldn't hear so well, so he couldn't hear the birds. And this was such a loss for him. And I could see it from a distance, and he nearly became depressed because of this. So maybe the insects, the birds, the bees play a bigger role in our life than we think at first. And here is the definition of the nature deficit disorder. It's not an official diagnosis yet, but there is a research going on that children spending less time outdoors, they can develop a range of behavioral problems as adults. So it's never too late to go out there and play and feel the green grass under your feet. And now the 10 ways to change the world. So let's start. And the first spiritual response to the climate crisis would definitely be living a simple life. And how can that be attractive?
Yeah.
How can that feel like, oh, this is something I want to do? Because many times the rhetoric is that you have to cut down, you have to do less, you have to travel less, you have to buy less, and everything we might enjoy in life, I have to do less. So how to make simplicity attractive and something everyone wants to do. And simplicity is supported by inner contentment. So simplicity comes from the inside. So when I'm content in my life, I don't need so many things on the outside. Because you see, when discontentment appears, I feel a bit empty inside. And then I'll go out and buy some gadgets or buy a new blouse or some new clothes or to fill up that emptiness. So inner contentment, that's the key to simplicity. And where does our inner contentment come from? And yes, many of us, we say that in a spiritual life, the spirituality and the peace and the love on the inside will create this inner contentment. And then simplicity becomes natural. So here, as an action point, we can maybe think of appreciating whatever we have already, both on the inside and on the inside. And when my appreciation and gratitude increases, then I feel more content. And then simplicity becomes easy. So living simply and feeling free like the bird here. Because who wants a complicated life actually? Too many things is too many complications. And second response is being unlimited. And being unlimited in what way? Well, this is actually a very important response, because in one way we need new solutions in order to come out of this situation. And if we think in the old way, we will not have new solutions. You need to think in a new, innovative, creative way, to think out of the box in order to think of new ways forward. So to open up my consciousness, so I'm open for creativity and innovation and new ideas. How to take my life forward, how to take the life forward of the global family is very important. But we can also think of being unlimited in a way that we need to think of the whole humanity as our family. Because that which is our family, we will care more for. So that means I have to let go of divisions and judgment, divisions of gender, nationality, religion, economic status, etc., etc. But I open my consciousness to such an extent that I become unlimited, and therefore I will have a more responsible reaction or response. And the action point here can be, if you like it, can be to look at how many judgments we still have. How many times do I judge something before I really know? To make sure my attitude is non-judgmental. So, ready for response 3, which is opening the heart. And opening the heart here, yes, one can ask, what has love got to do with climate change? And in one way, you can say it has got to do everything with it. Hasn't it love got to do with everything in our lives? And yes, I would say so. And so therefore we can practice to open our heart in such a way that we can include everyone. Before we talked about being unlimited, but here I practice care and compassion to such an extent that I can also accommodate other people's weaknesses. And in order to accommodate other people's weaknesses, well, I have to have that deep care and compassion for myself. And yeah, so what happens, for example, I walk here on the street of Copenhagen and I see someone throwing rubbish on the street, and what do? Do I become angry on them and tell them off and say you shouldn't throw rubbish on the street? Well, that's actually a negative response to a negative action. And that everyone can do. And everyone can also do a positive response to a positive action. But we have to practice love, care, and compassion to such an extent that I can have a loving or positive reaction to a negative action. So maybe I can make friends with this person who threw rubbish on the street by being friendly in my conversation with them, and therefore strengthen their ability to not do it in the future. So yes, if I have this kind of loving attitude to myself and to others, but not only other human beings, but all living entities, and actually the whole world, then the healing process starts. And one can ask, what is healing actually? But one could say that healing and love goes together. Yeah. So here the action point can be to practice love and detachment. You see, I don't judge, I don't become angry. I keep a loving position no matter what. And that will always be a strength rather than a weakness. And the place to start is to never become angry on the self, where negative self-talk is actually forbidden. There is no room in this world for putting yourself down. So you can see others might try on you, so don't try on yourself also. That would be a shame. This is actually how I feel that the Environment Initiative came into my lab. Because 5 years ago I started becoming interested in the environment. Maybe a few years before I started this practice, that whenever I made a mistake in thought or in words or in action, I used to go and sit down in my favorite meditation spot and say, "Sweet Sonja," to myself until the bad feeling is gone. And this had such implications on my life. I became happier and stronger. And somehow I felt that this practice of Sweet Sonja, when things were not looking good for myself, that brought the environment field into my awareness a few years later. So if you want change in your life, I can only recommend this. And then, yes, we have the next spiritual response, respecting life. Fantastic response. And it is based on an old spiritual saying, an old spiritual principle, that life is sacred. All life is sacred. So I treat my life as sacred, other life as sacred, all life as sacred. And if I feel that my life is sacred and all life in general is sacred, I will be very careful not to waste. You know, because we don't waste sacred things. So we don't waste water, we don't waste food, we don't waste things, we don't waste time, maybe not even waste our breath. Because wasting breath is like being stressed. So I stop wasting, but I become powerful instead, because opposite to waste is power. So I keep my own power, and I encourage other people's power, pure power, in order to live life according to these principles. And you know, one very inspiring tradition here would then be the Native Americans, because they have this, and many of the indigenous communities, actually all indigenous community, if you think about it, they have this sacred relationship to nature, often asking the trees before, if I can cut you down, or never take more than what you give back. So you keep restoring the balance, or you keep the balance in nature in order. And today, you know, I think we use 1.5 or nearly 2 earth resources. So we're taking more than we give back. And this we can't afford. It's like economy. You can't, if you spend twice as much as you have, you go bankrupt. It's easy mathematics.
Yeah.
So here, I mean, the action could start respecting myself, start respecting all living things as such, and make sure I don't waste. Okay, ready for the 5th? Here we have being positive. And yes, of course, we need to be positive to carry on, to keep the spirit high, to do it together. I learned such a good slogan here the other day, because you also mentioned our pandemic in your introduction. And the slogan was unity leads to community, leads to immunity. So I thought that was very good. And in order to keep unity between us, between individuals, between communities, between nations, of course, we need to be positive. We just need to carry on. And when the problems and conflict come, we will just deal with it, and we will carry on. We will keep the spirit high, and we will help each other to become strong. And that will lead to communities, because we can't do this alone.
No.
No single individual can have any greater impact alone. No single community, no single religion, no single nation. We just need to work together as a global community. And then our immunity will be high. So I thought it was nice. And yes, being positive. I have a friend, and he shared a story with me once, and he was saying that he is very particular in sorting his rubbish in the kitchen. And this was before the municipality had different system to collect waste in the households. So he had to go to different places with plastic, with glass, with cardboard, with paper, with kitchen rubbish, and with general rubbish. And he was very particular, and he took a great joy in that and proud in it. And he also took the rubbish to different places to get rid of it. But then he said, when I'm in a bad mood, you know, if I feel down or whatever, I can't care. I just don't care. I put everything in the same bin. And I thought that story was so revealing, because when we feel a bit low, when we feel a bit down, we just don't care, do we? We don't actually care that much. We become indifferent. And we can't afford being indifferent. So being positive, yes. So knowing the importance of my attitude and vibrations and the impact it has on my body and my immune system, on the atmosphere in my room and in the society, I just need to be very careful and keep positive. And one reason we lose this positivity is we don't know what to do. And so I'll have to keep finding new ways of learning, of sharing, of a community feeling, so I can keep this attitude where it should be. And yes, we have 5 more spiritual responses, but I think we're stopping here, aren't we? And we have a meditation together.
In my mind, I go to a place in nature, a place of greenery and peace. In my thoughts, I emerge the wind, and I can hear the leaves of the tree moving in the breeze. The wind whispers secrets in my ear, and I understand. I can feel the sunshine on my face, softly warming my heart and soul. The birds are chirping in the background, and singing songs of happiness and joy. I emerged the feeling of belonging to the planet, to nature, to the animals and all living beings. I feel safe in being forever connected to this global family of all living beings, and being connected to the world around me. I will remember this moment if I ever lose hope for our common future of harmony for all.
Thank you for sharing that with me. And that was a nice little break. So I'm coming back to the slide here. So now we go to next spiritual response, number 6, which is walking the talk. And yes, we all need to walk the talk. We all need to practice what we preach. But on the other hand, we can't practice everything which is right. It's just impossible. Today, many people have tried to live 100% sustainable life, and it's not possible because in the way the world global community functions today, there will be some unsustainability somewhere or another. And today the choices are also very complicated. You know, for example, in Denmark, the tomatoes in the summer are best from Denmark, but in the winter they are best from another country. And you know, it's like, it's getting very complicated. And I don't practice everything I'm speaking about here today, actually, but if it is like, I think I have to do everything perfect before I say anything, then nobody will say anything. So it's like I have to, it must be possible to speak about it even though I can't do everything. I can be open and share, but I can be open in such a way I can also share what is difficult for me and what I can't practice. And maybe others can support me and help me. But in a way, we have to create such a culture and communication between us that we understand that it is possible to speak of something even though we don't practice it ourselves 100%. And it is the same in our meditation centers. If we were only going to teach meditation course where if I'm 100% peaceful, no one would teach. So in a sense, we just create a culture of being open and share and don't hide what is difficult, but share it. And don't pretend I'm doing everything perfect, because it's not possible. And then it's actually easier to walk the talk, because I will find friends out there that will feel the same as I do. And then we have empowering yourself, which is of course very, very important. And in the climate change negotiations, they talk about inner resilience. And resilience has become a buzzword today in the climate change negotiations. And we talk about, well, Philippines, you have had so many natural catastrophes. So I'm sure you talk about the resilience of a community, of the nation, to bounce back after a conflict or catastrophe, my ability to rise up and continue as a community, as a nation, or as an individual. And here we will talk about the individual, the inner resilience. And in one of the programs, I came across an American woman who had studied inner resilience for years. And she had read thousands and thousands of articles on inner resilience. Because what makes one person strong on the inside and the other person not? Is it education? Is it the upbringing and your parents? Is it the school? Is it your spiritual practice? Is it your religious belief? Is it in the DNA? Is it in the nation? What makes one person strong and the other not? And this woman, she had studied all these articles and research, and she boiled it down to 3 qualities. And I thought it was so interesting, because 3 things we can remember. And the first thing to create inner strength was to face reality. Power to face. See the world as it is and see the situation as it is. Where I don't deny or I don't avoid, I don't run away from it, but I face it. And well, in the climate change, we have still some climate change deniers, but they are getting less and less. And on my personal side, maybe there are some things in myself I still don't look at. I'm still not facing, maybe in my relationship or in my relationship with myself or in my relationship with God. So maybe it is time to look at it, to face it. But whatever I have to face, I can do it very lovingly. Because the reason we avoid and deny things is I'm scared. I'm scared it will be painful. So if I create a very loving mindset, then the first step for resilience to face reality will be much easier. And the second quality was to have a spiritual or religious framework in my life. To have values that will carry me through when maybe my understanding fails, or where my emotions fails, or where the community around me fails, I have a set of guiding principles and values that will carry me through. And whatever spiritual practice or religious practice I have, well, we know how it is with practices. They need to be done every day. I need a sort of regular practice to revive these inner values and principles which are so meaningful to me. And yes, I came to think of Johan Rockström again, because we met him in one of the climate change conferences, and I asked him about hope, what creates hope for him. And he said that technology is scalable, it creates hope, that we very fast can upscale technology and deal with climate change in that way. And then I asked Sister Genti, who is the head of the delegation and our senior sister in Brahma Kumaris, I asked her, what creates hope in you? And she said that the soul is immortal. And then I asked my two other colleagues in the climate change delegation, what creates hope in you? And one said dialogue and conversation. And one person said that I can shape my reality through my mind, and that ability to create the world around you starting from the inside creates hope. And then I asked myself, what creates hope in me? And I think it's kindness, just pure and simple kindness. And why I take it up here is that this is like part of the spiritual framework, to remind myself of what creates hope when things are difficult. So for inner resilience and empowerment, one was power to face, two was a spiritual or religious framework, and three was innovation and creativity. That when I'm cornered and there is no way out, I'm able to take a deep breath, invoke some peace, and let go and open up for new solutions. And the first ability to create is actually our thoughts. So the ability to think in a creative and loving way. So empowering yourself. And next value here is eating well. And this is very practical. And it is well known that the biggest step an individual can do to help Mother Earth is to become vegetarian, and even better to become vegan. And the meat industry, it pollutes more than the transport sector. So in that way, it would be better to become vegetarian or vegan and keep your car than to sell your car and keep eating meat. And the vegan movement today is one of the biggest growing movements in the world. And why is that? It's because the youth are embracing this lifestyle. The youth movement, they are very concerned about their future. Of course, I would also be. So they are going vegan because of the climate, because of Mother Earth, because of contributing whatever they can do to the present situation. So this is one step everyone can do, and if you're not vegetarian beforehand, well, you can choose to eat less and have meat-free days. And then we have here, next one would be follow your dream, following your dream. And of course, we all had a dream when we were kids, where we were going to be when we become bigger and how life was going to be. And I hope you still have dreams. I still hope you have kept your dreams. And I don't think anyone was dreaming of sitting alone on a dirty planet. No, we were all dreaming of being together with loved ones, family and friends in a beautiful nature place. So I would say keep dreaming and keep close to your dreams, because that will give the extra energy we need. This will give the extra spirit we need in order to expand and go forward. And you see here, the picture here is like a star. And there is a wonder of the moment which is connected to my dreaming. There is the wonder of the moment. There is the wonder of small things. So as much as dreaming is connected to something big and something including the universe, in the same way it is equally connected to the joy of small things. So I can only recommend that you start creating a list of moments, moments of small happiness, and to stop and take a breath and enjoy the wonder of the moment. You see, when we turn on the water tap here in Copenhagen, we can drink the water from the tap. So when I come back from India, I enjoy this moment so much, turning on the tap and being able to drink the water. Or when I come out, I can breathe fresh air. And we all have small moments of happiness, which gives the greatest joy. And when I start collecting these, they can also become the big dream we have. So keep dreaming, and the clearer the goal connected to my dream, the more likely I am to reach there. And now we have the last one of the spiritual responses, which might not surprise you. Here we have feeding the soul. And yes, we know that time spent in silence, in meditation, will give me the extra energy, will make me go into depth and understand the wonderful threads of the world and how I can contribute. And I think one good example of this is trees, how the trees are connected. And especially the past 5 years, they have done a lot of research on trees. And it turns out that trees have a secret communication system. So you have community of trees. It can be like 40, 50 trees in one tree hub, in one tree community. And they are not connected with the roots, but they are connected with fungi. So the fungus, they grow very quickly underground, and the roots take too long time. And in this fungi, invisible network, the trees communicate. So for example, if one tree is not well, the other trees will send extra nutrients, extra minerals to that tree, so it became healthy again. And within this secret invisible network, they can also rise and lower the micro temperature in that tree community. And they have the ability to sort of, in an invisible way, connect to each other and support. And we as human beings, we also have an invisible network, not of fungi, but of good wishes and vibrations. We are connected on a vibrational level. which is an invisible network. So when I sit here, maybe alone in Copenhagen, far away from all of you, but if I concentrate on good vibration and sending that out in the global vibrational network, it will reach you at some point. Or it will reach those who need it. And I will never be able to know who of you need what. But my responsibility will be to be like a tree, to continue to spread good vibration out into the network. And this is very beautifully done in meditation. And we will soon meditate together again. And we can practice being these trees. And actually, I read another thing about in Africa, there is a tree that one animal feeds off because the leaves from this animal is very tasty. It was an okapi. I'm not sure that's the English word, but then if this animal eats too much of the leaf, so it's overeating, with the danger for the tree to become affected by it, then the trees will send some poisonous stuff out into the leaves, so it doesn't taste very good anymore. So then the animal stops eating it. I thought it's quite fascinating. And I'm not asking you to send poison out into the network, but I'm just showing this, that it is working and it is very effective. And we can send love, good wishes, we can send compassion, peace out in our network. And let's see what I have here. Yeah, this was the slogan I like so much: unity, community, and immunity. And before we stop for our meditation, I just want to introduce our Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. And I'm sure you will get to know more about it later. But here you have the 10 ways to change the world. And we do many workshops on it. And if you go to this website, echo.brahmakumaris, we have many workshops and many slogans and interviews and films and many things we can do. And then this is the slide I was thinking we could meditate together on. So we're holding hands and holding Mother Earth in our hands. So I will stop my presentation here and we can do a meditation together. And then we open up for some questions. I think that's the program. So maybe you can sit in such a way that you feel that you're holding Mother Earth in your hands. It's a very nice feeling to put the globe in your hands here. So start the meditation by relaxing my body. And I take a deep breath all the way to the bottom of my stomach. And I remind myself that I'm breathing the same air as everybody else on this planet. We are all connected. And now in my meditation, I remind myself of my inner being, where all the values, aspiration, and dreams, they live. So I go inside, into my head, And I see myself as much more than this body. I see myself as a being of light and a being of peace. And I remind myself that I will always be this being of light, of peace and love. No matter what happens on the outside, I will always be a peaceful soul of light. Can you feel that? The power of the soul on the inside in my head. And as a being of light, I connect to the divine. Connect to the divine source of energy. I connect to the biggest healer of all. And I think of God or the divine as another being of light. And that we will always be connected. And no matter what happens, I will never be alone. Because I will always be connected to the divine. I open my soul and open my heart to this pure energy and let the healing take place. And together we heal the world. So you can put the earth in your hands and hold Mother Earth very gently. And I allow the supreme energy, the pure peaceful energy, go through me to the Mother Earth in my hands. And with this loving care, I remove the sorrow and the pain. And I replace it with balance, beauty, and harmony. I spread my angel wings around Mother Earth and hold her gently. Believing in a future where we all can live in harmony together. You take a deep breath and prepare to come back from the meditation. And maybe you close your eyes for a moment and notice how it is to be me right now. To notice how it is to think in this way. And then we take another deep breath and come back. So I say thank you very much to you all. And here we have our meditation carrot. And I stop sharing here. And I think I'll hand over to Emily, isn't it?
Emmy. Thank you. Thank you, Sonja, for talking to us at length about this unique road that we can take moving forward to our future on this planet. And thank you especially for assuring us that we do not have to be experts at every single one of those responses before we can present them to others and discuss them with others. Thank you so much. And we received questions, many little questions that we have clustered into a dozen bigger questions. They all seem to indicate a reluctance to act, but only because the end result is not guaranteed. It's clear, however, that the desire to act is there, the love is there, the concern is there. So again, thank you, Sonja, for taking these questions and bringing our doubts and our fears one step closer to clarity. Now we move on to the questions.
Yeah.
This first one is personal. What helped you cultivate respect for the environment to this extent? Is it any single event in your life or any one person's influence, or is it the fruit of nurturing?
I think what happened is I've always had lots of love for nature and a very good relationship to nature. Mm-hmm. But then here in Copenhagen, we were going to host a big climate change conference in 2009, COP15. And here in the meditation center, we heard that the whole world will come to Copenhagen. And President Obama was going to come and all the different nations. And I thought Brahma Kumaris should also be there. But then I realized, you see, I couldn't explain how the mind and the nature and the environment was connected. Mm-hmm. And it was a shock for me, actually, my lack of understanding the depth between mind and matter, between the human being and the environment. I couldn't even explain how it was to be vegetarian and was connected to the environment. And that shocked me a bit, the lack of depth of understanding these connections. So that's how we started. I thought I got to do something about this. So we enrolled the Environment Initiative and it just took on from there.
Okay, so going back to 2009, as you mentioned, the BK Environment Initiative was created that year. How much headway has it made?
Yeah, this is a very good question and very difficult to answer. When we started our initiative, we decided that it has a twofold purpose. One is to green our own institution, and one is to advocate this message of changing consciousness out into the world. And if you look at our own community, I think it's made a huge of a difference. Nowadays, we have a green environmental awareness in all countries, I would say. And there are, for this World Environment Days, nearly in all countries, in all regions. And it is, people are engaging in one way or another. So it does have helped a lot in our own community. When it comes to the world, we don't work alone. We work together with all other spiritual organizations and religions. And we are called the faith-based organizations in the political world. And because we stand together, we do have a voice. And many politicians and many in the business, they are listening to this ethical voice because they know they have to listen to this voice if anything is going to happen. So it's made a fantastic difference. But why it's difficult to answer, because it's difficult to measure soft values. And this is an old problem. How do you measure the change in soft values? So I can start by measuring my own life, and then you can do the same.
Okay, is there enough interest in environment care at this point to fuel real change, especially us, not just regular, well-meaning humans? Do we really have any say in this?
You see, as an individual, I am a consumer. And as a consumer, we have enormous power. So you see here in the cheapest supermarket nowadays, they sell soya milk, oat milk, almond milk, and so many milks instead of cow milk. And this is the power of consumer, because if a consumer wants it, the shop will provide it. So every time you spend a penny, you take a decision. Am I going to buy this or am I going to buy that? And we all spend money for food and basic things every day, basically. You can choose, here we can choose what kind of energy supplies, if it's green energy or non-green energy, when we buy electricity for our place we live in. So as a consumer, I have an enormous power. And I think if I'm aware of this power, the change will happen, because the world will follow the money in a sense. So yes, I think it's enough interest in the world. And coming back also that the pandemic has opened the eyes for many people also.
Okay, I think it's following up on that. In 2017, a study showed conclusively that only 100 fossil fuel companies cost about 70% of total greenhouse gas pollution. How can we influence decision makers to take action in this? There seems to be little that we can do if the actual major polluters do not take drastic action from their end.
Yeah.
Can we really stop them?
Yeah, this is also a very common question, and this is one of the reasons many individuals don't do anything, because you feel totally helpless against the big corporations. And if you see the numbers of how much you as an individual saving compared to how much pollution they create, you can lose hope in a second. But we'll have to remind ourselves the importance of my own action and the action we do together. And for example, we can stop single-use plastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you do, you can also influence all the Brahma Kumaris centers in the Philippines to stop using single-use plastic. And if you do it, and if you also do it in your retreat place, you will influence all other people who come there to stop using single-use plastic. And in this way, you know, again, as a consumer, we have a big influence. And the big polluters, they will also follow the money. So if you stop buying single-use plastic, they will have to produce something else. And here in Denmark, we see it's coming more and more alternative cleaning products, and more alternative this way and this way. And it's because it sells. So I can, nowadays also with plastic, I don't use any storage, plastic for storage which is contact with food. And it's a little reorganization in the kitchen, but it's not healthy for the planet, neither for my body. And we can do so many things together. You know, instead of buying new clothes all the time, we have a day in the center where we share clothes and we swap with each other, and we don't need to buy new ones. And more shops are coming up selling secondhand. It's become fashionable. So in this way, if I can remember this, I will have to keep up my hope against the big corporations. And remember, they will also follow the money. But there is another thing, actually.
This next question is like...
Yeah, I mean, it is also the power of the vibrations. You know, even though my vibrations are not visible, and even though I don't have an immediate result, it doesn't mean they are not important. Okay. So doing what we do now together in meditation, spreading these vibrations, and reducing waste in my own thoughts, therefore in the world, then finally it will have a result. So it doesn't matter, even though I'm just one person out of 7.5 billion people, my thought still counts. Because they will either invest in the future harmonious world, or they will invest in a continuous or the polluted world. Yeah. So back to you.
Okay. Well, this next question is a little more hopeful. He or she asked, what is a helpful attitude to stop so much anger and blaming over environmental issues? I am guilty of both.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of both. And I think we took it up when we went through the spiritual responses, didn't we? We took it up in a sense that love and compassion and opening your heart first to my own self, and forgive myself for this inappropriate response of anger and guilt. So first forgiving myself, and then creating this loving vibration so I can forgive others also. And when forgiveness and healing has taken place, it is energy left for action, for doing it, and also energy left to do it together with other people. Because guilt and shame and anger take so much energy from me that I don't have enough energy to work together with others.
Yes, that's true. Okay. In the description of tonight's program, we find these really big statements. Open your heart, respect all life, empower yourself. Taken together, it sounds like a roadmap for self-journeying. Based on this, would you say a person's faith and values influence his sense of responsibility for the environment?
Well, this is a tricky question, but because in a sense, I wouldn't say that, because you have so many non-religious people out there who are much more responsible and doing much more for the environment than the religious or spiritual people are doing. So I don't think you can judge it in this way. But I would say if you have a spiritual or religious practice and you go into depth of it, that will, and then it will have to translate into action. You see, it's like I can talk about love for myself and for you, and that is a kind of spiritual practice. But if that practice doesn't become so deep that it also reach things and the trees and the world, so I have such a deep love that it's all-encompassing love for everything, then I would call it it's deep. And it's a life changer. So I have to go into depth to make my spiritual practice such that it includes the whole world.
Okay. Next question. I believe that there is an inner environment and outer environment. In your own words, I think, Sonja, healthy mind, healthy planet. How do I best explain this to others?
Yeah. You got to start somewhere. Just start.
Yes.
Just start. Practice on your friends and family. That's how we did here for 2009, and when we were going to be part of the COP15, we had a few sessions here in the center where we made skits for like small dramas. One has to come up and play a difficult person asking difficult questions, and we practice explaining for each other. And we created talking points to help each other to explain. So you start and then you get going. And also remember that vibrations also speak louder than words.
Okay. Well, the next question is connected to that, Sonja. Yeah. What is the science behind this? You know, meditation, spreading good vibrations in the environment. Is this backed up by science?
No, it's not backed up by science. So, well, what science is today, it's a kind of free market, isn't it? What we use as science. You have many religions, Buddhists especially, are fantastic in the research on meditations, on the meditation's effect on the brain, and many Christians have done fantastic research on how prayer can create healing. Yeah, and there are other organizations who say vibrations reduce criminal actions in the areas it's happening. So you have many examples like this, but not everyone is accepting that science. You see? So you will have to create your own science. You have to experiment and see if it works in the small world you're living in. In Brahma Kumaris, we have this yogic agriculture, where we have a whole agriculture field, excuse me, where they divide the land into organic and organic with meditation. And it's been done research on that. And if you add meditation to your organic farming practices, the level of minerals and proteins in the grains become higher. And the percentage of grains that are sprouts also are higher. So this has been done in connection with universities. And it shows the effect of meditation on your plants and on the agriculture. But then again, not everyone accepts this kind of experiments and research. So I would say you go ahead and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, you will have to carry on until you find something.
It does sound like science to me. Okay, next question. It seems that only when people are directly affected by climate change that a sense of urgency kicks in. Otherwise, it's easier not to care. How can I cultivate empathy? I think you have answered this, Sonja, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, we just go on to the next question. You seem to agree with the more optimistic scientists who say the window is still open for human to reclaim the planet. On the other hand, we are probably looking at an irreversible situation. So why don't we just carry on with our wanton ways? No, I think this is what you should answer. From where you sit, tirelessly working and hoping and talking to people, what kind of future can you actually see?
You see, I'm not just hoping. I have a very strong belief that I'm creating.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm creating a future world of harmony.
Okay.
And we're doing it together. And this is the world I can see.
Okay.
And as I said, we all have a dream and we all hope that we will have a beautiful world to live in. But the very important question for me is, how do I want to be in that world?
Yes.
So do I want to take my indifference or my carelessness with me? Okay. So they'll have a future world of total harmony and beauty and balance. And there I am with my personality, not caring, just leaving it up to whatever happens, feeling hopeless or careless. It doesn't fit. So if I'm working for a world of beauty and harmony, I have to make sure that my personality fits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a strong motivational factor to do something.
Okay.
And that is the future reward, but there is also an immediate reward of the feel-good factor. And the feel-good factor is not to underestimate. So here in Copenhagen, when we prepare for the conference, I told everyone, I just told everyone, we'll go green in the center for the conference. Like everyone else did that. We started to buy green cleaning products and change the paper and the light bulbs and everything. And then after the conference was over, I didn't say anything. So I thought I'll see what happens. And everyone continued to buy those things. So after half a year, I asked them why, because we never took a decision to continue. And they said it just feels better. It just feels better to do the right thing.
Uh-huh.
So this feel-good factor is very motivational.
Ooh, we have 3 more long questions that are made up of small questions, but we don't have much time. So we will just have to find a way to get to you. Maybe you can do them someday. Yeah. Thank you so very much, Sonja and Mark, champion of Mother Earth. We are facing a very daunting job. It's estimated that we have 4 billions of the Earth into viable ecosystems. That's 100 million hectares a year, 2021. And as you may have noticed, we're halfway through 2021. It's not, it's daunting. But tonight, no doubt, many of us took the first step to making a stand. Tonight, we heard that we are part of the solution, and that with gratitude to the planet and love for our fellow humans, the parts we can play come very easy, or easy within reach, at least. Thank you again. May we now call on BK Rebecca Ortega, Senior Meditation Teacher, Brahma Kumaris Philippines External Service Coordinator, and organizer of tonight's program.
Hello, Sonja.
Hello, Becky.
We were enjoying your talk, and as an expression of our appreciation, we want to give you, this is our national flower.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, and one thing about this is actually called sampaguita. They're very small, but very fragrant.
All
Reboot.
right.
national flower, and we make it into a garland for people. Okay, so
Ah,
it's supposed to be a garland for you. So I'd
yes.
like to give it to you and share the sweetness. It's very sweet and subtle, and I think that's what we have to become to be able to change the environment, is to do it in small, sweet ways.
Yeah.
I think to debate about it, you'll just create enemies. But I think like this flower, which can influence the atmosphere, no matter how few it is or how plenty it is, I think the work with the environment goes with our internal change. And as we go more peaceful, and the Brahma Kumaris is offering us ways of becoming more peaceful with our programs. And I hope you listen to all our programs, which is actually connected with this. Our final aim is to change the world, as the Brahma Kumaris would say, as I change, the world will change. So we'll give it to you symbolically. It's our beautiful flower. Okay. I don't think you have it there.
I can smell it all the way here.
Okay. And then just for an advertisement, okay, these 10 ways to change the world. I don't know how it will reach all of those who were people who are in the audience. Okay, we can give it to you if you are willing to take it. Maybe you can send us ways of sending it to you, address or something, or a pickup place. And these are really explaining how we can put into practice what Sonja has discussed today. I think we have to put into our behavior and a way of thinking so that we can begin to influence the change you wanted to see in this world. So thank you very much again, Sonja.
Thank you and good night. Good night, everyone. Om Shanti.